Could I ask you to all take your cell phones and turn the ringer off? That would be really nice if we could all do that, and myself included. Okay? Thank you all for coming out. I want to just start off right at the beginning. The three people that matter the most. We have Brian Weaver here on the left. We have John Bradbury, both of them you probably know from the City Council, and they're running for mayor. Tonight, the questions will be asked by the MVP of Medlock Bridge, also known as Ann Harriman, who, if you knew what she does here, we would be lost if she got a job. So the whole object here is to get to as many questions as we can tonight. The format is going to be, they're each going to get 5 minutes to present who they are, where they're from, what their vision is. And then we're going to go right into questions, 2 minutes for each question, no rebuttal. We have a lot of questions already from the internet. There are cards back here and a pad. Write out a question, bring them up, we'll give them to Ann, and we can get through as many as we can tonight, okay? And that's what we found the success, 4 cycles of doing this. This is the only way you can find out who, what, where, and when, okay? Thank you very much. Ann Harriman, take it away.
Hello, yes, okay. Glad to see you all. Thanks very much, Tom, for organising all this. No small feat in itself. So as Tom mentioned, the way we're going to run the format is we're going to give each of the candidates 5 minutes. Tom is going to be the timekeeper, and then we'll go into the questions. So Brian, should we start with you?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. Very loud. I want to thank Medlock Bridge HOA for having us tonight, Tom and Ms. Harriman. Thank you for the hospitality. Everything's great, nice and cool. So, first of all, I'd just like to say I want to be your next mayor. And the reason I want to be your next mayor is because I have 40 years of service, public service, here in the city. Just tell you a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Athens, Georgia. The youngest of 11 kids. Grew up in Athens, went to high school there, graduated from UVA, class of 1980. After graduating from college, came here to Atlanta and started my career with Fulton County Police back in 1982. That's when this area was pretty much all wooded, under construction, 4-way stop signs. You only had 3 country clubs up here at the time: Rivermont, Horseshoe Bend, Willow Springs. St. Ives was under construction then. Everything with 2-lane roads, 4-way stop signs. So that's the beginning of my career, how I view this city, how we get to where we are now. Back in 1982, when I started with Fulton County Police, as a patrolman, patrolling the streets, serving and protecting this community. I took an oath, very passionate about it, very serious about it. 26 years later, after moving up through the ranks in various leadership capacities, I ended up retiring in 2008 as a major, one of the senior commanders here in North Fulton County in this area for Johns Creek. In 2008, Johns Creek Police started. I was one of the founding members. We built the police department from the ground up, did all the hiring, wrote all the policies, made sure it was a police department that the community was proud of and a department that was proud of its community. So after, started with Johns Creek, stayed there from 2008 to 2019 when I retired as second in command of the police department. After retiring second in command of the police department in 2019, I ended up running for city council. Hopefully, some of you voted for me then, had the confidence in me, and I was elected. So thank you very much for that. So after serving on city council for the last year and a half, once our mayor, only mayor we've had for 15 years, decided he's not going to run again, and I look around in the room, and I'm the only one in the room with a lot of experience here in the city. What I mean by that is, I'm the only one in the room that was here before the city got started, helped the city got started, and now evolving to where we are now. So that's why I'm running for mayor. I'd like to take us to the next level, to finish some of the things that we've started, like Town Center, like Cauley Creek Park, like taking care of our infrastructure, and also stormwater, something near and dear to Tom's heart. All those things are major projects, major things that need to be done. And with me as your mayor, I would make sure that I take care of those things and get those things done and make sure Johns Creek becomes a destination instead of just a cut through. And it's something we all proud of. I'm married. My wife is not here tonight. She was at the last two debates, so I gave her the night off. But I've been living in Shake Rag for over 20 years, married with 2 kids, 2 boys, both of them adults. My oldest son is in the Navy. My youngest son has 3 beautiful granddaughters who I cherish to death and love them and send them back home after spoiling. But I have 2 sons and 3 granddaughters. I would like to be your next mayor, and I will be your next mayor after I get your vote, after you realize that I am uniquely qualified for this position. Because of my experience, because I have been in this city over 40 years as a public servant, serving and protecting, and I will continue to do so to make sure this city is something we're all proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. John?
Can you hear me now? New technology. My name is John Bradbury. I want to thank Medlock Bridge HOA. I want to thank Tom and Ann. Many of you look familiar. Some of you have been in your backyard to look at different stormwater issues. This is going to be the most important election in the history of our city. I have the experience, the competence, and the vision to lead what I know has been a good city, but what I know that if we work together, we can build an even greater community. I'm running because this is my home. This is our community. My mission is to make it the best it can be. I will bring a breadth and depth of life experience to the job of mayor. I served for 8 years in the United States Marine Corps. I've been running my business now for almost 20 years. Before I was elected to the City Council, I started Preserve Johns Creek to preserve the residential character and quality of life for our residents. And the way I got started on this journey was by serving as president of my HOA. And I want to use that experience and knowledge for the benefit of our community to lead us into the future. And in the future, I have 3 main priorities. Safety first, building greater community, and forward together. Safety first. I say it that way because to me, safety has got to be the first and foremost foundational responsibility of any government. We have been known as a safe city. The question is, will we be able to continue to be? I say it has to be, because without public safety, every other issue that we talk about tonight will pale by comparison. And so I want you to know that that is something that I take very seriously, and that will always be at the forefront to make sure that the residents of Johns Creek remain safe. Building greater community. This is something I'm very passionate about. This is something that I really hope to get to spend a lot of time on. You know, just like you can have a house but not a home, you can have a city and not necessarily a community. And so for me, the dream of Johns Creek, it was never about becoming a big city. It was always about becoming a great community. That's what I want to work on. And so I want you to imagine a Johns Creek where we are building greater community physically with more sidewalks and trails. Socially, more events, including all parts of our diverse community in different geographic locations. Economically, we have incredibly stale, dated retail that needs to be rejuvenated if our economy is to do well into the future. As mayor, I will reach out to shopping center owners and say, please, we are open, we are flexible. Show us your best proposals for redevelopment. So it's not just a transactional place, but it's a destination. It's an experiential shopping experience. Human capital. We can build greater community by tapping into the resource of our community members. We are known as a wealthy community, but also a very talented and well-educated community. Let's get people involved in tackling the different issues that we have and using that expertise to actually make the community better. The town center. I'll be the mayor that actually makes it happen. It'll become a reality. I want to make sure that it's going to be unique, that it's going to be vibrant, but I also want to make sure that it's going to be to scale and keeping within the character of our community. And then finally, Forward Together. Why do I say Forward Together on all signs and the brochures? I don't know about you, but I have grown tired of turning on the TV and there are different politicians or some in the media that they say, you know, we should be divided. They seem intent on pitting us against each other. I reject that. You know, in Johns Creek, we have a beautifully diverse community. Literally the most diverse in Georgia. And yet we are all here for basically the same reasons. We all want our kids to have a great education. We want our families to have safety. And we want a high quality of life. Those are noble pursuits. Those are the things that bind us together, that unite us. And so we should not be divided. We should focus on being one people, one community. And I know that as long as we are, that we're going to do a better job of tackling any issues that we might have. And that we're going to do a better job, be more effective at tackling any of our common community goals. And so that's the kind of leadership I want to provide. That's the example I'll be as your mayor. I look very forward to the debate. I know that Johns Creek is very important to you or you wouldn't be here tonight. I appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to begin the questions. Some of these questions were submitted through email and others have been written on the cards. I'm going to juggle them as best I can, try not to repeat, and try and address as many topics as we can. So the first question, Brian, I'll put to you, and we're going to put the same question to each of you. What is your attitude towards small businesses? How do you plan to help them survive? If you look at Alpharetta, they have done a great job of encouraging businesses. For example, the average age of a restaurant in Johns Creek is less than 6 years. During the pandemic, Johns Creek Council would not let restaurants expand into the parking lots, like all the other cities, both large and small, without charging huge fees. You both sat on the council that didn't seem to be pro-small business. How will you change that as mayor?
Thank you for the question. How to promote our small business? I think while I was on city council, we showed a great example of that when we got the CARES Act money. The CARES Act money was given back to our small businesses who took, I guess, most of the hit during the pandemic. They had to close down their dining rooms. If they were in the food service business, they shut down their catering business. So what we did, we had a grant program that we offered from the city. We were the only city in North Fulton that did this, give the money back to our small businesses. We did that, not only giving the money back to the small businesses, but also giving money back to the needy families. So that was part of our money we got from the CARES Act, federal funds. We didn't invest it in our infrastructure. We gave it back to our small businesses. And that's part of my platform also, safety and security for the city, quality of life, economic development. Because safety and security for the city, just like going through this pandemic, we have to make sure we follow the CDC guidelines from our public health officials to make sure our small businesses survive, doing whatever they need to do, and doing what we need to do as a municipality, as elected officials, to help them. That's why I will support whatever our public health officials would say, to support our small businesses, to make sure the small businesses are doing what they can to survive. And safety and security, making sure they're safe, making sure we provide whatever protection or whatever we can from the city to make sure We helping them out as far as any type of signage, any type of relax on any type of ordinance, anything like that to help promote business, but also make sure that they're doing whatever they can to reach out to us and also the chamber. Thank you.
Do you want me to repeat the question, John?
No, ma'am. Thank you. It's true. We were a unique city in that we gave that money back to the small businesses in Johns Creek, and I appreciated the support of my opponent. I was actually the council member that crafted that creative compromise that actually was the formula for how we distributed that money, because it was quite a hot potato for a while, but we were able to get that passed. One of the things that I think is critical as we move forward is Johns Creek has developed a reputation as not being as friendly to businesses as we probably should be. I really think that what we need to do, and it goes back to what I talked about earlier, tapping into the different people in our community that have expertise, our best and brightest, so that we can do an onboarding process. We can evaluate what are those friction points that are problematic for the businesses to get started in Johns Creek and to stay open. And so just like you have with a corporation, if you're a new employee, they have an onboarding process. I would like to see us in Johns Creek identify new businesses that would like to come here, and let's shepherd them through the process all the way until they are open and ready for business and they're successful. Now, we need to figure out in that onboarding process, what are the barriers to being successful and quickly getting to business. If you're a restaurant and you have trouble getting your liquor license, that's costing you valuable money with time. These are just different examples of some of the things I'd like to do. The biggest thing we've got to do is we've got to have a mayor that celebrates and sells the city of Johns Creek, lets everyone know we are the best city to live in and to do business in. We are open for business, and we're going to be a good partner. Thank you.
Okay, John, I'm going to flip-flop, so I'm going to ask the next question first to you. This is a three-part question. Describe what you believe affordable housing means in Johns Creek and what price point you believe is affordable. Do you want to see more affordable housing in Johns Creek? And if so, exactly how would you go about making that happen?
So, affordable housing is something that I think the market has decided for many parts of the city. Obviously, Johns Creek is a high-rent district. That is somewhat because we're a victim of our own success. I think that affordable housing might be something, for example, the townhouse that I first bought in Johns Creek when I was a few years out of college. I think I bought it for about $100,000. It appreciated to about $120,000 when I sold it, and I think it's worth about $160,000 today. But there are places that you can find places to live and buy in Johns Creek. Now, we have got to look at diversification of our housing stock. We are very uniform in that it's all, for the most part, single-family homes. I'm not a fan of apartments, but I do think that there are owner-occupied alternatives that we should look at, especially in the town center. Some of those can be very, very nice, but we need to make sure that we're keeping, the quality of the community high. This is not necessarily something that we are looking for the government to provide someone a place that is, their specific place they want to work. My own family, maybe like your family. My wife works at Northside Hospital. We had to do a calculation. We had to do a balancing act of how much commute are we willing to put up with, right? So that it's not so bad of a commute. But obviously you're able to get more house for your money the further out you live. And that's something that I think most of us can relate to. And so there are places, whether it's in Johns Creek or maybe it's slightly outside of Johns Creek, where there are different options available. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, so three-part question. Describe what you believe affordable housing means in Johns Creek and what price point you believe is affordable. Do you want to see more affordable housing in Johns Creek? And if so, exactly how would you go about making that happen?
affordable housing means different things to different people. Whether you know it or not, we already have affordable housing here in Johns Creek. But I think we need to have more options for people. We need to have affordable housing for our first responders, including our teachers, police, fire. We need to make more options available. We need to have transitional housing. We have a lot of empty nesters here in Johns Creek. I know I'm one. And a lot of people are moving out of Johns Creek because they're downsizing. So I think we need to have different type housing options available for those people. I call it transitional housing that we can make affordable to those individuals. So we definitely got to have more options here in Johns Creek because we want to keep our first responders here in the city if we can. If they want to live in the city, I think that's an option for affordable housing with different stipends for our police and fire. And also maybe work with Fulton County Schools Board of Education to offer some for our teachers. But yeah, we definitely need more options in housing. I call it transitional housing as people downsize from their family homes when their kids leave and they become empty nesters and they want to stay here in the city. And I think we should have options there, and maybe we can have those options in the town center. As your mayor, I would look at that to make sure we can have that type of housing here in Johns Creek and in the town center.
I'll keep you up there. The next one's traffic. I'm going to combine a couple of questions here. The number one complaint of Johns Creek residents is the traffic. It can take over 10 minutes to cross 141 and State Bridge Road. The City Council seems to like the Michigan U, but we all know that isn't the answer and is not really going to relieve the intersection. What will you do as mayor to fix that and other traffic issues? And then related, do you want to widen 141 and do you want to widen Jones Bridge Road?
Well, right now, the mayor and city council, along with the state, have already come up with a agreement for State Bridge and Matlock Bridge, and we call it a hybrid type of construction or a system. And this has already been approved. This has already been talked about in council with GDOT and the mayor. They came up with an agreement, passed it on to council. We looked at it. Staff approved it, thought that was most cost-effective way to make sure we deal with the traffic situation. And right now, traffic is flowing. What we decided to do as council, work on the intersections on 141, all along the 141 corridor to make sure the traffic is free flowing, all the way down to Peachtree Corners. So right now, and because of the pandemic, we really don't have a real sense of whether or not everything is going to flow the way it is now, because people are getting back to work. So right now everything is working well. The improvements we made to the intersection are working, and we also using our smart traffic program to monitor it, where we have a person sitting in the traffic room making sure that the lights are on the timing issue and making sure the traffic is flowing all the way to Peachtree Corners. So right now, what we have in place is working, but the hybrid system is what the council and mayor and also GDOT agreed to, and that's what we'll be working on sometime in the very near future. So that's in place. As far as Jones Bridge Road, there's a plan in place for that, and probably in the next few weeks we should get another report. But yeah, Jones Bridge Road is planned to be widened. We looked at the plans, I think, right before I stepped down, and I saw some more plans a few minutes ago. Thank you.
So, I don't know if you know this, but I was obviously very much opposed to the widening of 141. I think I can fairly say that through my efforts we were able to stop the widening of 141, and thank goodness, because I think that would have been a disaster for our community. It would have literally been putting the highway through the middle of our community. As far as the intersection at 141 and State Bridge, I would not say that this is necessarily something that's a foregone conclusion. When it came to council, we were asked whether or not we would be willing to give our authority to GDOT so that they would be the master of that project. This is something that my opponent and I disagreed on. I voted no. He supported it. Personally, I think that it will not give you proper ability to give input and feedback and shape what that project is going to look like if you don't have your 7 local council members to be your representative and being the ones that are over that project. Now, personally, I felt like that with what we just completed down there, which was called the intermediate solution, I would like to see that be measured, and let's find out what the true efficacy is going to be for that improvement. Because remember, we started that or planned that back before COVID. And so I don't think it's necessarily true that the traffic is going to come back exactly the same. Do the numbers absolutely come back to some extent? Maybe. But remember, the intersection is a failure only at those peak rush hour times, or at least that's what it was back before COVID. So what impact is the new traffic pattern going to have, and what impact are the improvements going to make? I will say this about the intelligent traffic system. I was one of the people that was insistent that the intelligent traffic system was not doing what they said it would. We said we've got to have someone that knows how to drive that. We finally got that dedicated person. That made all the difference in the world. Thank you.
Okay, stay there. It's you again.
But I'm already out of breath.
We're going to change course now. We're going to talk about COVID and health and safety. Do you believe in a vaccine mandate, a mask mandate, a vaccine passport? What is your public safety platform specifically to helping the citizens of Johns Creek stay safe? And if the CDC mandates vaccine and/or masks, will you enforce that mandate?
First off, I don't think that the CDC has the legal authority to mandate that, but that would be something that I would have to find out more about. I will say this, I am vaccinated. I believe in the science behind the vaccine. I would be opposed to doing a vaccine mandate, that all of you would be asked to line up like cattle so that you could be injected with something that you may not want to do that. That to me is a personal choice, and it would be your responsibility to make the right decision for you and your family. I think that that's basically what we've all been doing, and for the most part I think those that want to be vaccinated have done so. As far as a mask mandate, I am hesitant to do that, especially in the current environment. It seems that we now have different options with the vaccine. We've learned quite a bit of once you get the virus, there are different treatments, and they seem to be fairly effective at mitigating. And my wife is in the healthcare industry. We talk about this a lot. I just don't think that it would make sense for the government to be so heavy-handed in the situation where we're seeing that the numbers are coming down. This was something at the debate the other night that my opponent and I disagreed on. But again, I think that individuals are going to act in the best interest of themselves, and I don't want to unnecessarily infringe upon that freedom. That being said, I was very much in favor at the beginning of the pandemic. I definitely bought into this idea that if we would just put in place some different restrictions, that would help us flatten the curve. They said it was going to take 2 weeks. Well, that was a year and a half ago. So, I think that it's something that we have to be very wary of, but we also have to be practical. Thank you.
So this is looking at health and safety. Do you believe in a vaccine mandate, a mask mandate, a vaccine passport? If the CDC mandates vaccines and/or masks, will you enforce that mandate? And what would be your public safety platform specifically to helping the citizens of Johns Creek stay safe during the pandemic?
Well, keeping us safe is definitely part of my platform, which was 3 areas of focus: with safety and security, quality of life, economic development. Like I said earlier, we definitely should follow the CDC guidelines, what our public health officials we get from the state, recommendations we get from the state and also the county. We need to look at the numbers, making sure that our numbers are in a comfort zone to make sure we're doing what we can do as a community. So far, Johns Creek has been great. the numbers hadn't gotten to an escalated level where we have to consider mass mandates.